Hey guys, Jeff from Home Renovation here. Today we are talking about patio. Yes, this is not a typical, patio paver concrete. This is porcelain patio, and we are doing a huge A to Z video today to show you how you can do this yourself as a homeowner. First thing we got to do though is we got to have a plan. Can't just start without knowing what you're doing. So we got the marking paint, which is awesome. This is spray paint. It works inverted. Has a little trigger on this machine, so you can run around, and we're basically going to draw out the idea of what we want. And then once we have our plan, we're going to do a new line, because we want to always excavate about a foot wider than you're actually going to use. That makes life easy. So I'm going to draw this out, and then I'm going to ask my wife to confirm my idea. We're going to show you all the different things that you can incorporate in your patio and the markings that you want to have to help make sure you stay organized. Let's go do some drawing. That's hard to see, isn't it? So the way you mark out your paint project is really simple. Rust-Oleum makes this awesome little stick with a wheel. You take your can and you just stick it in inverted right here. And you'll notice it's a little pin. All right, this is trigger action. All right, that's all there is to it. So you can just drive around making marks anywhere you want. Piece of cake. The best thing about this is you can draw out the entire patio area, every feature, and then get your wife to approve it before you start digging. Words to live by. All right, so I drew out the quick lines to give me an idea of what's going on. So this is my basic perimeter. It's going to be a 40 by 20. That's lots of space. We drew out a couple of these interior curves here. Now these radius curves aren't perfect, they're not exact, but when we actually go to build this place, what we're gonna end up doing is we'll do a dry fit with the block that have a predetermined radius to it. We'll start in the middle and turn our curve out, and we might have to make a couple of minor adjustments, straightening things out. Not a big deal. The idea is we have a table, we oversize the chair area because that allows you room in your mind for moving chairs in and out, for people sitting down, and the flow around the table. We know the barbecue area. We marked out a fire pit area. Okay, again, this curve is going to be a step up, different elevation here. We're going to have a retaining wall along the outside, just a couple of feet, just helps kill some of the wind that comes from being off a highway. And then over here, we marked out an area that's perfect for a hot tub. Yeah, so now we know we got enough room, we got enough flow, and then we're gonna have a nice curving walkway going across in front of the his and her sheds we're gonna build. This is a perfect outdoor layout. It's simple, and when you go simple, you can go bigger because it takes less time to go big than it does detailed, right? Always try to keep your plan as simple as possible. That's tough as soon as you ask your wife for her opinion, but the reality is, for us, we like simple lines, nice easy curves, and as few features as possible so that we minimize all of the overworking that doesn't have to be done. Along the backside, we're not putting any curb. We're just gonna go soft right into some river stone and then into the yard where I'm gonna be able to build my outdoor gym, and that's gonna be an awful lot of fun. Lord knows I need it. So, cedar hedge with a gate, nice hedge around the whole property, retaining wall for the patio area. Everything will be defined and have a purpose. I know I got enough space, and I don't have to worry about buying all the things for the patio before I start because it's not that specific. We're doing a barbecue area instead of an outdoor kitchen because in this kind of environment, we're looking for more casual lifestyle and entertaining of friends than putting on a grand display. It just doesn't really fit the size and the age of the house. So we're gonna go simple because you know what? When you keep it simple, you keep your costs down. That is a great plan. Now, let's get the machines out. We gotta get some dirt delivered and get some excavation done. And then we can revisit this plan as we go, and we'll just keep on marking and drawing and having fun in the dirt until we make this a reality. All right, so it's day one. We got the heavy equipment here. We're doing all the excavation. Usually when you get a YouTube video and it's talking about the steps to doing a DIY patio, everything is a perfect scenario, right? It's a flat ground, it's a small space, and all they're doing is just digging out the hole, right? In our scenario, we got a huge property, we got drainage issues. I got the part of the house really low compared to what I want to have it. So we got to raise it all up. We got to level it off because the slope is horrendous. There's a lot of work to be done here. So step one, get rid of all the organics, grass and black dirt. That's got to go. Step number two, of course, is you've got to level it off with GA, and you've got to dig any trenches for electrical or gas or anything else that you're doing. Now I got my little fix of playing with my toy out of the way. We'll get the young lad in the bucket. He actually knows how to use this thing, and so he's gonna excavate and take care of all of this mess for us. All right, buddy, it's all yours. Listen, we're gonna have a lot of fun this week. We got this thing for 5 days, so we're gonna try to transform the yard as much as possible while we have it available. Whew, what a lot of fun that is, eh? He moves it, backs it up, takes a look, right? Identifies if he's in soil yet or not. I'll keep adjusting his bucket. In our patio, we have got a different process than traditional. Usually you dig down the depth that you need so that you can backfill your 6 inches of GA, add your stone, and come up to your flush finish height of the lawn. But in our situation, what we want to do is we wanted to raise the whole height of this area of the house, because we need to start working on the water drainage diverting from the house into the back 40. So we need to get this all leveled off. And while we're getting the GA all leveled off around here, we're digging a trench because we want to run a gas line over to a fire pit. We are on propane out here in the country, so we got big tanks. We're just going to tie into the propane to the house, have that line come right to the fire pit. I'll never have to fill another propane tank again and for the rest of my life. It's gonna be amazing. And we want to dig down about 8 to 10 inches here because we're adding almost a foot of GA. That gives us a great depth. It's much more than code requires. And then we'll be able to have a gas guy come out here and fish a gas line when he's convenient. Because right now he's out having a baby. He's a little occupied. This was really rocky. But perseverance, you'll always win. Just want to try to make sure that the depth is the same all the way around. Now we're going to throw the pipe in, backfill it, tamp it, get the GA on here, and hopefully we'll have the whole patio level in about another hour or so. Then it's going to be time for our geotextile, and that's going to be our membrane to keep the weeds down. And then we're going to go 6 more inches on top of that. This is going to be a lot of fun. Perfect. All right. So I can't stress how important getting the right equipment for this job is. Yeah, you could probably use a wheelbarrow and a shovel. You could probably run around hand tamping, but you're never going to get the compaction that a 1,000-pound packer has. We're only a 3-man crew, and this is only our 2nd day. We've done all of our excavation. We're already into the place where we've got our pipe for our gas line. We're almost leveled off the whole property. Now we're just going to backfill the pipe and finish leveling off the rest of this, and we are ready to start moving forward. Once the site is prepped, it's just really, really quick production from there. Batter up, baby. Okay, so now here we are. We've almost got the patio kind of leveled off. Their backfilling is done, our pipe's in place. Now it's time to pack this properly. Now, we're using a 1,000-pound packer, which is not available for rent in a lot of locations, so make sure you shop carefully. Resist the temptation to get yourself the 400 or 500 pounder. It's just not going to get you the compaction you're looking for, and you're going to run into problems down the road. So the success of your patio is all about the integrity of the operation. And being a homeowner, you're not going to cut corners. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the packer, we're going to go around the outside perimeter a couple of times, and we're slowly going to work our way into the middle. All right, and then we're going to go in a different direction. Instead of circular, we're going to go back and forth on the short side and then back and forth on the long side. And then you can be confident that you're packed in and nice and tight. During that process, we can take shovelfuls of gravel and fill in some low spots and that sort of thing. But then before we're done, before we go to the landscape cloth, you can't cheat around the edges because that's where you're going to have failure on your stone. So make sure that you're making your pad bigger than what you need, because it's a lot easier to backfill dirt and grass than it is to get really good edging stone if you don't make the pad bigger than what you want. All right, so now it's time for a geotextile. It's basically woven plastic, so it's permeable. Water can still get through it, but it doesn't inhibit the growth of weeds, and that's the goal here, to keep this from having all that crap that's hidden in the dirt growing through over time. The goal is to drive straight onto the pad. All right, so we're not going to disturb what's packed. We'll drop the stone and rake it backwards, and then we'll add more layers as we go. It's going to take a few minutes, but this first layer here is really key to keep the overlap on the geotextile about 6 inches. And right now the world's got a shortage of this product, so we're using what we could find, which is a 4-foot roll. Bit of a pain in the butt. Usually we'd use a 6 or a 7, but it is what it is. Now listen, I just wanted to go through some information here for you, because when you go online or you watch other videos, you're going to get a whole pile of different opinions about how to do this kind of work. Let's break it down so something makes sense to you, okay? If you're doing a walkway, just a couple inches of crushed stone for foot traffic is fine. They even have these brand new products you can buy. It's like a pad. It clicks together like all those little foam carpets you'd use in your gym. You know, if you want to waste your money on stuff like that, that's fine. But realize buying stone dust is not expensive. You can have it delivered in a bag and you contain the mess. It doesn't have to be this traumatic event that happens to your driveway. If you're going to be using a larger patio, then I would suggest you go to 6 inches. I know lots of guys will tell you 4 is plenty, but here's the thing. If you're in the south and you have 4 inch of gravel and you've got really good soil conditions for building this kind of thing on, then you're fine. In the south, they build a whole house on 3 layers of sand poured down, and they don't even tamp it. You get the drift. It really is all relative to where you live and what kind of conditions you're facing. In the north, you really want to have it packed. You want to have good drainage. You want to protect where the water is going at all times, because we have freeze and thaw. And if you want to extend the life of a good quality patio, I would even treat it like a driveway and go to 6 inches or 8. Bottom line is, if you're a DIYer and you're going to rent a skid steer and you're going to make a huge patio because you want to increase the investment in your house, one of the best ways to do it is to build a cutless patio, which means you're going to build it up against 2 sides of the house or even 1 side of the house, and you're going to make a huge pad like we did here. We're raised up 8 to 10 inches off the ground. This is huge. And what we're doing is we're going to bring our stone out until the design and dimension of the stone creates a finished area. Whatever gravel's left, we're just going to slope it, all right? And we're going to finish all that off with river stone. It's a really nice way to get a patio. You trim the edge with river stone, put in some little plants or cactus depending on where you live. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's simple, it's clean, it's quick, and it's really efficient. And this crushed stone is only a few $100 for an entire dump truck. So don't be afraid to make the area that you're working with a little bit bigger. You can always just take a flat bottom shovel like this, come over to the edge of your hill and trim it off, okay? Rake it out and cover it in pea gravel or white river rock or something like that. It's really simple to do. So now we've got a nice, relatively flat area. We've got our geotextile down to prevent the weeds from growing through. We've got a good solid couple inch base, but we're gonna go a little bit higher now. We need a second and a third application, because the reality is, if you put too much gravel in your pack, you can't tamp it down solid. You're gonna have soft spaces. Sooner or later, water's gonna find it, and it's gonna cause all kinds of ripples. So it's all about preparation. The more time you spend, the more respect you have for your dirt, the better the performance is going to be. So second pass is this. So we're gonna put down a couple of inches of gravel, and then we're gonna tamp it again, and then we're gonna put down another couple of inches of gravel, and then we're gonna tamp it again. And then we're gonna go and do all the fine tuning. We're gonna do that on camera for you, because we have a few tips and tricks that'll help you get an absolutely perfect job. Now, if you've watched a lot of these videos because you're looking for information to do your own patio, you've probably seen a 1-inch bar before. Usually guys use this near the end, they lay them down so they put their sand bed on, and we'll show you that as well. But what I do is I buy a 1-inch galvanized. Now this is a 3/4 inch galvanized pipe, but that number refers to the interior diameter of the pipe. The exterior is 1 solid inch. That's how much sand we want as a sand bed. But because this is a rigid pipe, I can use it kind of as a leveling system. And when I'm putting in my sand, I'm not following the contour of the bed that I've made. This keeps straight so that I get a perfectly flush surface. So one of the things you saw us using when we were packing our dirt was we always wet it first. It really helps to get a much better, tighter pack. And you'll notice that you're gonna get a combination of the rock, the 3/4 stone, and the stone dust, which means that different parts of the pack are gonna be different consistency and they will pack differently. So just because you had the same height when you started, after the packer goes over, you're gonna have this going on. Now you see, because I put this pipe on here, you'll see the differences in the compaction. And so there's two things we're looking at here. If you slide this long rod all over the place, which is 10 feet long, it gives you a really good idea of what's going on with your patio, all right? And so now is the time after you've done your last pack, you go around and you have to fill in all of these holes, okay? You want to get right down close to the ground and identify all these low spots. Get them all filled up. And yep, you guessed it, you got a packer again. One other thing you can do with your flat shovel is you can find any ridges and you can take off all of those ridges as well. Now when you're adding your sand, your goal is to get 1 inch of sand. But this is not, how shall we say it? This is not forensic accounting. This is landscaping. So 1 inch is good. Some guys go 1.5. My rule is this. If my variance in my patio leaves me anywhere between 1 and 1.5 inches of sand, I'm fine. Anything more than that, you're just being a little lazy. That gives you an idea of how much work and time you need to invest to get this right. I'm still not happy. We still have divots. Here's one of the reasons I think every homeowner should do their own landscaping. It is really hard to find a crew of people out there who are going to take this much time and effort to put your patio together. Now they might have more experience and they might be able to say, oh, we don't need to do all that extra work. We know what we're doing. But the reality is, if you don't invest your time and really get this leveled out and packed properly, it's just not going to last. There we go. Now in the eyes of the landscaping gods, this is perfect, okay? Don't be too hard on yourself. Now, if you keep trying to make it perfect, you're gonna end up creating new ridges and new problems. So small little divots, be happy with it. The key here is to level off your patio one direction, the long way, and then when you go to do the sand, put your rods contrary to that so that you can level off your sand. Then your patio will be perfect every time. So what we're using as our next layer of aggregate is actually, it's a stone dust. So it's stone like this, the clear stone, that's been chipped down into really tiny fine particles. And what you'll see is, when you take a look at this pile of rock, there's a lot of huge voids in there, okay? What this does, when we put it on top, is it fills all those voids so that it can be packed nice and smooth, all right? The reason we're doing this is two parts. A, when you add water and you use your packer on your crushed stone, all the big rocks are going to vibrate to the top. So adding the crushed stone fills all those voids on the top of your existing surface. Secondly, it's ground so fine that when you put your pavers on top, you'll see in the next step, we're going to use a smaller compactor to vibrate all of that patio into this dust. And it'll sort things out and vibrate up into all of the gaps and cracks and make a nice solid surface underneath so you don't have any air pockets. So wherever you have air sitting around, you have places where water can collect. And water that collects underneath your patio is really dangerous, especially when you get into the thaw-freeze cycles later in the year or early spring. So I like to use this. You could also just use regular sand. There's a difference of opinion. I find they both work the same. Most guys just use the aggregate that's cheapest depending on where they live and what's the easiest to get a hold of. So the idea behind sand or crushed stone is that it's structural. It can't really be compacted as much as it just needs to be positioned. That's the cool part. So as long as you're not forcing this material to the side underneath the stone, it'll carry all the weight right on top of it. We're basically building a patio in North America today with the same technology that they used to build the floors in churches thousands of years ago that are still standing without a single crack in them today. So if you ever go to Europe and get a chance to go on one of those tours, you'll see mosaic tile. And what it is, it's basically just a stone base with a crushed stone or a sand mix, and then they set the mosaic tile with a Portland cement right on top of it all. And that's it. That's how they did it. Thousands of years later, millions of tourists a year, those floors are in mint condition because this stuff is a perfect packing material and knows how to transfer load. It's incredible. So have some confidence when you're working with this. The idea here is we're just going to screed it and leave it in place and let all our pavers go right on top. While I've got a skid steer here, we're just going to go through the process of getting the majority of this material in place. And then when we're going to start setting our stone, we'll talk about how to fill the gaps and how to make minor adjustments. But today's goal is all about getting value for our buck. We rented that thing 7 days ago. We got all of this whole yard done. And if you want to see some of the other videos from this project, you should click the link, because in 7 days, we've completely renovated the entire full acre of our property. Get good value for your money, get all this material in place so you don't need to use a wheelbarrow to move 4 yards of stone. All right, let's get back to the dirt. The process here is really simple. I've got a 6-foot level, and now I've got my level sitting across it. I'm using that to screed the material. You'll see a lot of guys in videos using lumber. Let's face it, wood is not straight. This $100 level is. I will trust it before I trust a 2x4. This is also just a little bit wider than the wheelbase of the skid steer. So he's able to drive right up between these rails and lay most of my material right in place for me. The idea, and remember, when we're all done, we're gonna come back and use a light gauge packer. So if you have too much material in a place and you put your stone in, the packer will come by and redistribute all that for you, okay? So this isn't about perfection, but you do want to pull it tight. Pull the material backwards as you go. Remember, if you find a divot or a hole when you're putting in your stone, it's not the end of the world. You can just take a handful of dirt, throw it on there, brush it all in. Okay, so this is not the time to get really picky. This is the time to get your base down and start getting your pavers in. Now, I'm not doing this demonstration because I'm suggesting that if you want to buy a basic low-cost paver and save money, it's a good idea. I'm showing you how to do this because I'm doing 1,000 square feet of high-end outdoor living, and I don't feel like paying tens of thousands of dollars for labor when it's this simple and the weather's this beautiful. I'm making money. Now, we have 2 basic kinds of stone material that can go out here. One is permeable and one of them isn't. Permeable surfaces are like concrete pavers, natural stone, like a sandstone or a limestone. But you can also get granite, you can get porcelain, all these different kinds of material for outdoor patio stone. One thing you got to remember, every one of these stones has the same start. You're going to do the GA, you're going to pack it, you're going to level it, you're going to put in your sand base or your crushed stone. And if it's a regular concrete paver or a permeable surface, and it's not any bigger than 12 by 12, you should have no problem just setting it in, and using a light tamper to vibrate it all together. But if the finished stone has got a surface that can't be scratched, like a porcelain tile or a granite stone or something like that, and it's a larger stone, a lot of the times they come thinner. In that environment, when you're putting it down, it's more like a tile job. All you do is you take your great big piece of paver, you flip it over, you take your Portland cement mix, which is a non-modified tile cement, use a 1/2-inch trowel, and you spread that on the back of your tile, then you press it into place, use a rubber mallet to make it all flush. And that's it. It's not that tricky. So even if you were to buy a $15 or $20 square foot outdoor living stone, you can do this yourself. It's not that hard. It's kind of like blending landscaping with tile work. Just got to do the right steps in the right order. Make sure that you maintain a nice flat surface. If your patio isn't going to run water away from the building, which is why I use a level, I can put it on my rods at any time. I want that bubble towards the house. I don't want it level. I want it just a little bit off level so that if I raise that, then it's level, okay? We're looking for a 1-degree slope away from the building in both directions. So flat is more important than level here. But make sure you have water diversion away from the house and you'll be fine. Even the experts can't agree if 1 inch or 1.5 inches is perfect. So in my book, if you have to, start with 1 inch over there and shim towards the house and start with a thicker base. It's not going to make a difference. As long as it's packed properly and you set this in place properly, you can grade your rods and then backfill if you have to. But make sure it's all going in the right direction before you add your stone. And this is just like a day at the beach when you're a kid. And remember, nobody's going to care about the quality of the installation as much as you will. That's why I think you're the best person for the job. I'm telling you, when it comes down to this kind of work, it's not difficult. It's labor intensive, but it's mostly an issue of your integrity. And let's just be honest, in the world of construction, the guys that are getting paid to do nothing but labor, they're usually there because integrity is not the top skill that they have. Just saying. Okay, so remember how I usually preach when you're doing a project, make a plan and stick to it? Well, we broke our plan. We had an opportunity for a product placement in this video, which is this awesome porcelain tile. And the real truth of it is that it's installed differently than the patio pavers that we were originally going to put in, but only from the point of putting the stone dust down moving forward. So we have our base installed, everything is good. Just so you know, when you're doing patio pavers that are the small concrete ones, the process is going to be different to finish than this. So you would put those into the stone dust, and then you would put a bunch of sweeping compound on top, and then you bring the vibrating plate compactor out, and you just pack it all in, and that works out great, okay? And it's a very porous patio, and rain falls, it goes down all the gaps and cracks, and this is going to be different. So this is this has to be embedded in cement. It's much more like a tile job. So because it's more like a tile job, we're going to install it like a tile job. We're going to check our square, we're going to check our slope and make sure that it's nice and flat and it's not a slope with a big dip. And we're going to go for square footage today and try to get as much of this big tile down. We're going to show you all the process for doing it. Now, we're in a 4-season climate, so our process is a little bit more complicated than it would be in the south. In the south, you just go with your cement and you lay it down and you're all good. But up here in the north, I've got to put in special additives. I have to use a special grout, and all that product information will be in the description below if you want to do this yourself. But we're going to follow through the process of how to install massive format tile. This is 1-inch thick stone, and it's heavy. Each of these tiles, I would say probably, what, 35 pounds? Like, it's pretty extreme. But it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And remember, when you're doing something like this at your own house, it is money in the bank. Installing something like this is going to make you somewhere around $15 to $20 a square foot in value. That's right, I'm doing a 1,000 square foot patio. Daddy's going to buy a new car. Okay, so joining me today, my wife is going to be my assistant. This is Unique. Say hi to the world.
Hello.
Michelle, what we're going to do is we're going to do a basic squaring off of the room concept.
Yep.
And we're using the 3, 4, 5 technique, which means I'm going to measure, instead of 3, I'm going to go 9, 12, and 15.
9, 12, and 15. Okay.
Okay. And we're going to see if the house is relatively square at that point.
Yep.
So you want to pinch these two together right there for me.
Sure.
Okay? On the 9-foot mark.
Yep.
On an angle. So that it, yeah, right there. Actually, that works pretty good. So the house is sort of square.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we're doing in this project, we're going to leave a border about 3 inches. We're going to put electrical conduit and outdoor plugs and then large river stone just for a little decorative device. We're putting in the hot tub, so the little river stone will look nice there. We have to cut through 1-inch porcelain, which is difficult, and it usually leaves an ugly chipped line. So by adding the little river stone detail, it helps to bridge the gap between this and then the foundation, covers all the cut stone, adds a little rustic dimension to it because this stone is really big and shiny.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start in the middle of the room, roughly 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 feet out. Okay, and I'm going to go side by side tiles and go all the way across the patio to where the fire pit is. So what I've done here is I've taken 2 tiles in a string line and I've set it up at both ends of the patio so that I can measure the gap between my packed stone and my string and see how consistent it is all the way along. What I need to know here is if there's a spot here where there's a deep valley, then I need to identify that before I tile so that I can add extra cement in those areas, because I'm not trying to install this level. I'm trying to install it flat over a large area. So using a string line to identify the dips and the grooves is going to be key. The other key is to be very consistent with the mixing and the application of the troweled cement on the stone. We'll get in more of the detail as we go along, but just to keep an idea, we're trying to have it sloped away from the house this way and this way at the same time. But not too dramatic so that people are stumbling all over the place. Just so that we can run the water off the exposed edge of the patio and keep the water away from my foundation of my 1880 farmhouse so that the water isn't going into the building anymore. I know that sounds a little complicated, but trust me, if you have a garden rake and a level, you can walk around and manipulate all the stone dust and be in great shape before you get started. You can refer back to those little rods that we used. That basically set up my slope, but it only really works in one direction. So this string line helps me to confirm that overall we were moving the right direction that way, which we are. And there is a little dip in the middle, so we'll make that adjustment. We'll show you how to do all of this. But let's start mixing the cement. We'll talk about the products and the additives and what you need to do to put a patio like this in a 4-season climate. Okay, so here's the products, guys. Now, for everybody who's a fan of the channel, you know I love Mapai products. Mapai. So here's the thing. They have a product called Carbon. This is what I use in non-modified cement situations for like wherever I'm going to have groundwater or it's going to stay wet for a long period of time. Whenever you're doing large format stone, that's a 1/2 inch thick. Trust me, that cement's wet for a long time. This product helps make sure that it cures really strong over that period of time. It's key. This is the additive that goes into this because of the freezing and thawing that's going to happen up here. Now the tile itself is a rectified porcelain, so it doesn't have a huge expansion contraction rate. So we're going to go with a 1/8 inch grout line, using this because it's going to stay wet, using this because it's going to freeze and thaw, so it'll avoid having cracks and issues. And then we're also using a superior grout for the outside. Trust me when I say this, you don't want to cut these corners. Now if you live in the south, you can do away with this. That's great, because it's expensive. This bag of cement is 14 bucks. This pail of mix here is almost 200. Yeah. Now, I can make 2.5 bags of cement for every pail because this is the only liquid I'm mixing in it. I'm not using any water today. But having said that, that still makes these bags almost $80 a bag to be able to mix with. So it's a cost that I'm going to have to endure because I'm making a really sexy patio way up north here. But if you live down in the south, you don't need the additive. 15 bucks a bag. I'm telling you, anybody can afford to do a patio down there. Now, these spouts, little tabs that flip up, and then you pull the nose. There you go. Now I got a pour spout. All right, and I don't have to fuss around with the lid. This is awesome. And then on the inside, there's another one. Peel and tear. I have got a pail marked here. I need 1 gallon of this product for every half a bag. So I got a 1 gallon marked line in here. If you buy a pail that has the measurements, great. If not, that's a 5 gallon pail. Take the measurement, divide it by 5, add a little bit more because it's tapered, and that'll get you so close it's ridiculous. Put a line on the pail like I did, all right? We're gonna fill that up to our gallon first. Yeah. Here we go. Let's put in the milk. Okay. Beautiful. So, while Michelle is getting me my other pails, for those of you that aren't aware, in Canada we have a company called Home Hardware. It's the home of the handyman. And sometimes finding pails right now isn't very convenient. But Perkins Lumber down the street here where I get my cedar, they had pails. So cheers to Perkins Lumber. They saved my bacon. All right, now 1 gallon for half a bag. We don't guess. Take 2 pails, pour it into each of them. Make sure that they're both at the same level, all right? And then you can mark the pail as well. I guess here. Goes here. All right, here we go. Now it's close, but not close enough to be really happy with it. There we go. So all day today when I'm doing this, I'm gonna be splitting this up to make sure my contents are relatively clean. Right on, we'll do this. Now, we're gonna mix in a separate can than my pail for my measurement of my liquid, okay? Here we go. Always add your liquid before your powder. Okay. There we are. Nice and easy. Here's the kind of blade you're going to want for this, okay? Make sure you're not using a drywall mixing blade. It will not do a very good job. Okay, and you want to mix nice and slow, or you'll end up wearing it. Keep your blade clean as well. Now listen, the directions on this pail say we have to let that sit for 10 minutes and then give it a quick little mix again. Don't cheat. You got to follow these instructions because this is setting up. There's chemical reactions going on and then it'll get a little firm. So then putting the blade backs in loosens it up so it's working strength when you're working with your tile. We're going to go get a 10-minute break. We've been in our 10 minutes. It's starting to skim over at the top of the pail a little bit. Now we're just going to... There we go. Loosen that up, clean the blade. Now let's go lay some tile. What I've done is I'm cheating a little bit because my foundation wall isn't straight. So I threw a 4x4 post there and put a bit of gap on both sides so that my line will stay somewhat consistent. That way I'm not following one line or the other and the other side opens wide up on me, okay? All you gotta do to put down tile is remember, we're putting down a cement. Cement bonds best to something when it's wet. And we want this cement to stay wet as long as possible. So adding moisture to the ground is definitely a positive. You're gonna wanna have a pail with a sponge because whenever you're tiling, you wanna keep things clean all the time, including the grout lines. You're gonna need spacers, for your grout line, a margin trowel, suction cups, breaking into the, no, I'm just joking. These are, we're gonna wanna use these as well. I'll demonstrate that in a second. And then a 1/2 by 1/2 inch trowel that's 4 by 10 inches large. That's just for putting the tile grooves on. Now, here's our stone. You'll see that I'm kneeling on this orange pad. It's actually a piece of Curdy board. It's a little leftover scrap. It's a lot more comfortable on this than it is using knee pads because I don't have anything pinching behind my knees. And it's incredibly comfortable. So, hoo-hoo, reduce and reuse, eh? There we go. Now, when you're putting a lot of cement on a stone like this, it's a little bit different because we're not actually putting the cement on the floor like you would have a tile installation in a house. We're actually putting all the cement on the stone itself, and then we're gonna trowel it. Now, for everybody out there that's into directional troweling, this is a perfect 2 by 2 foot square. It doesn't matter which direction I go with, it's gonna work just fine, as long as I collapse the ridges when I install the tile. So please, no comments about I should have gone the directional lines in a different direction. I don't have time for that kind of nuts, all right? And it is easier to have too much than not enough, okay? Oof. This stuff really stinks like latex. That's awesome. Okay, now, I've got my coverage the way I want it. Put on my suction cups, and then I'll lift and set. Oh, let go, boys. All right, now we're gonna collapse the ridges now. Sliding it forward. Okay. Now the margin trowel is for cleaning up that extra cement around the stone. Okay? Because when you put the next one in, you don't want it squeezing up and getting in between the grout lines. Very important. We have the right grout here. All right, whenever you're dealing with a stone this size, you gotta have a rubber mallet. There's no way that you can just collapse the ridges just by leaning on it. The cement is designed to carry a ton of weight. So, a little bit of vibration is awesome. There we go. Now we're gonna slide it into position. Whew, and get ready for the next one. Okay, there we go. This is where you might need to be just a little bit sensitive to the tile if you've got wobbling. You don't want to start leveling everything out to be perfect until you've got the neighbors in play. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, it's a lot easier to get your edges flush together. And then once you've got the stone the way you want it, then pull them apart and create that grout line. All right. There we go. Gonna put in our 1/8 spacer. Okay. Now, whew. Now, this is going to take a little bit of work. It's kind of like that retaining wall, right? The first row is the most important. When you're building something like this, getting the first 2 rows all the way to the other side of the patio are the most important. Once you've got everything set up where the angles are good, it's nice and flush, the corners are nice and contacted, you don't have any lippage, then you can be extremely happy. Just let it set. Wow, walk away. So now I'm gonna get a chance to give you some tips. When you use a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch trowel, you end up adding about 1/4 inch of cement once the ridges are collapsed. So one of the things you can do when you're doing this is you can lay your stone before you start, okay, in position, and confirm that the ground is contoured the way you like it. Now you see I got room here. At this side though I'm high, and this end I'm high, right? Now this is gonna be a problem. So now's a great opportunity. Take your trowel and then reshape your slope a little bit. Nice. I'm a little bit lower all the way around now. Perfect. Now I'm ready for cement. And remember, we're not looking for level. If it goes in level, you're in trouble. But we can use a level to identify if it's flat, because you don't want to have gaps opening up anywhere. You don't want your tile going like this across the patio. So we are going to use this to make sure that we're flat coming across. And we'll use that technique to make sure that we're not riding up and down the waves. One more technique. If you put your tile down and there's not a lot of room for cement, instead of troweling like this, okay, you can close the trowel towards the bottom and then trowel. Now, you see the difference? So that's full open and that's flattened out, all right? So if you don't have a lot of room, you can close your trowel and you don't have to change out your tool, okay? Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Works better when it's wet, eh?
Oh yeah, crazy suction.
Jeez, 100% better.
All right. If you're doing this at your house and you want more mercy, the more mercy you want because the faster you want to go or the worse your setup is, thicker grout lines give you more mercy, all right? You can even set it up and give yourself like 1 inch between the stones, fill it with pea gravel or grass, do whatever you want to do. But if you want it to look like an indoor tile job outdoors, 1/8 grout line and a lot of patience is the way to go. I want you to kneel down on the orange thing. I'm going to walk you through the process here, okay? Okay, so the first thing we're looking at is our ground is a little disturbed from my knees.
Yes.
So you're going to get the margin trowel.
Yeah.
And you're just going to gently rake it to the left.
Like this?
Sure. All right.
Okay.
You're being too
Yep.
fussy. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to take this bad boy and we're going to just set it in place first. Confirm what the ground conditions are like relative to the other tile. Okay.
Seems a little high over
So
here.
that is high. This is low.
Low.
You can grab that level there.
Yep.
That's flat, and this is low too.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we went like this,
Be much better.
it's closer, but it's still too high there. I'm not getting that close. Okay.
What do you suggest?
I need cement here. I'm going to be adding cement, so that's good.
Okay.
So we'll try to do as much of the work before we get the cement as possible.
All right.
So you're going to take that margin trowel and scrape from here and put it over here.
From here, put it over here.
Take the top edge off. No, from all of that, the high side to the low side.
Sorry.
Okay, start there.
Yeah.
Drag it across and leave it here.
You said from here.
Yeah,
Okay.
all that comes over here. Yeah, that's the high side right there. You see the hump?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay, now you can do this as many times as necessary.
Yeah.
So if you've never done this kind of work before, best to double check a few times. Okay, you're still high.
Better.
Now I'm flush, but there's no room for cement. And I'm still a little low here, so you gotta
Okay.
take a little bit more.
All right.
Okay. Oh, now you're getting aggressive. I love it.
This is fun. Learning from the master.
There you go. Okay. Now hold on 1 second. Now,
I should get rid of this
this
heat.
is really high, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's try one more time.
Sorry. Ah.
Okay, so I'm still high here on this corner.
Wow.
All right.
Yes.
And now I'm really low here.
That's
so-
okay.
Okay. We're gonna get some actual dirt out of here this time. We're gonna be here for a while. There we go. All right. Now, that is perfect. You see how this tile is, the entire tile is now lower than the edge?
Is that what you want?
Mm-hmm. And the other thing we can do is check this. Mm-hmm. Hold it flat here. You see the gap is relatively consistent?
Yeah.
What's it like here?
Also.
Not bad, eh?
Yep.
Okay. Now, there's one thing I never told anybody yet. These tiles are designed to go on top of pedestals.
Yeah.
Remember when we did the hardwood deck?
Right.
The same pedestals we did the hardwood. So only the corner of this tile on all four corners needs to be supported.
Okay.
They're strong enough to actually, like deck board, it just goes point here, point here, point here. Mm-hmm. When you're installing this tile, you literally could just put cement in the corners.
Wow.
Okay? There's no need to do the whole back. I'm doing the whole back because I want the contact. I don't want to leave a mouse highway. All right? But the reality is you could just put support in the four corners and move on, which gives you a lot more freedom and flexibility to move the tile around. So it is an option if you want to do that in your house. It makes this whole process a lot easier, but I just wanted to point that out. So when we're working here, we're going to put all the cement on, and if a corner is low, we'll just lift the corner, throw some cement underneath,
Yeah.
set it, tap it to flush, and walk away.
Very
All right?
cool. Yeah.
Knowing that even if the whole thing doesn't have ground contact, it doesn't mean it's weak because the tile is designed structurally with only a couple of inches in each corner touching a structure. Okay? So it breaks the rules of traditional tiling. We don't need 95% coverage. We just need it level and flat.
Okay.
All right? Okay, so these are yours. All right. Now, I don't want you getting crazy dirty because I know you're heading out to go see, getting your hair appointment or something. If you can stick one of those on, there you go. And then just squeeze it together. All right.
Yeah, pretty solid.
All right. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Just lift it up and set it on the orange mat in front of me, and I will put the cement on for you. Now lean it backwards because
Yes.
the flatter it is, the better.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Now just another note. I'm noticing with this cement,
It's getting thicker.
with this additive in here,
Yes.
yeah, it has an attitude. You don't want to mix a whole pail of this stuff at once.
So here's my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you not make the solution a little more watery,
Well,
or
see,
add water, and then pour it on the spot, and then add your tile?
here's the problem with this. Once you've mixed this, if you start adding water, you change the chemical composition, and you'll affect its performance.
Okay, so say from the beginning though, you add a little extra water.
No, we don't add any water. We only add in the additive. You can experiment with your house if you want, but when you're dealing with products like this that are $200 a bag, just follow the directions. And if you're not happy with the product consistency, feel free to throw it out, but don't be playing around with it. It's like saying, oh, I need a new oil change, but I don't have enough oil, so I'll just throw a little water in there with it.
I was just thinking for the sake of efficiency.
Exactly. But can you imagine what would happen to your car if you added water because you ran out of oil?
Okay.
All right?
All right, I'm just gonna shimmy it.
Nice and gentle. Lay it down in position now.
Yes.
Okay? All right.
Oh,
Now,
sorry about that.
it's okay.
Okay.
Here you go.
All
Now
right.
lift it up and set it in place.
Oh my. I need a little leverage.
There you go.
How's that?
You're a good spot. Now, in this scenario, you're going to notice that we're really low. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to use this suction cup to lift the corner.
Yeah.
All right? Show you how to cheat.
And lift it up.
Lift it up.
Ooh!
Lift it up.
Oh!
Not yet, honey. Please. Lift it up. Stay lifted.
Yeah.
Hang on. Okay, now put that back down. and you'll see what happens. Gentle, in position.
Oh,
we don't want to slide it
I
around.
don't have the strength.
Oh, come on, you're a lot stronger than you think. Now, before we go and try to position that, we're going to want to lift the front. Do the same thing. Okay? Go ahead. Okay, that's it. You don't have to keep going. Okay, now gently lay that back in there.
Yeah.
So this one's a little high here. Now we get that rubber mallet. So just want you to tap right there until this gap is gone. Okay, good. Now over here, we're low.
We're low.
We're still low.
So want me to tap?
Nope. Now watch this. We're gonna just lift the corner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's actually nice and flat too.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there.
All right.
Okay. Now, we're gonna wash.
Yeah.
Never lean on the stone once we got it set where we want it. Now I'm gonna show you another trick here. Take your spacer,
Yes.
okay, and you set it in there, right? And just drag it across the hole.
Oh, yeah. Clean it up.
It cleans out all the cement.
Excellent.
And once you wash it, you can set it back in. Here we go. That's right where we want it. Take this and put it back in the pail.
Nice.
Well done.
All right.
Good job. Okay, now, off to get your hair done.
Thank you.
Well, it's time for grout. And as you can tell, I've hosed down the patio step here. It's nice to work in a wet environment, especially when you're using an ultra-colored grout. This is a fast-drying product. I want to do this product justice and warn you about it, so I'm going to tell you to watch the video, all right? We got a link in the video description. There's a warning about using this product if you're not used to doing grout. I want you to watch that video, and then you can feel free to buy it if you think it's right for you. Outdoor grout is a quick drying product. I'm going to suggest you mix just a little bit at a time so you've got time to do this right. It has all the character that we need, which is it is fast drying. It has a sealer, so it creates an impermeable surface. Water does not penetrate, all right? And this is one of the keys why it's so important. We're not laying patio stone and sand that water can go through. We're laying porcelain tile, so we need a grout that water can't get through, so we don't end up with frost and freezing and heaving issues underneath the patio. Nice and simple. Like most things outdoors, if you manage the water, you've managed the whole job. Now, I know I'm bad. I'm an eyeballer, all right? Especially when I'm doing with this. I'm just working with two different pails. One's got clean water, and there are a variety of different paint mixers on the market, which are ideal for grout in small volume, okay? The key here is to put the drill on one, low speed. You don't want to mix at high speed, and you always want to have a little bit of water in the pail before you start. This product does not have sand in it, so you're relying on the chemical composition to create the thickening of the grout, so it takes a few minutes, okay? So don't be impatient and dump a whole lot more product in. You'll see as I go here, it starts to get thicker and thicker and thicker as the water works around. All right? And we're probably going to be doing this for the next 2 to 3 minutes. That'll get rid of any lumps and clumps, make sure everything's fully activated. Now this is not a grout that you want to let sit before you use it, but I just don't feel like it's going to be thick enough for what we're doing. So I'm going to add another handful and mix that up. You're really looking for peanut butter here, guys. Be careful, you don't settle for less. And this is not a product that you let sit and then you mix again. Lots of other products out there, that's the way it works. You got to make sure you read each and every bag when you're working with stuff because it's always different. There, that's better. Woohoo! There, that's more what I'm looking for. And that's clean, and now that'll be my grout pill. The thing here is, this product is gonna fill the smallest gaps up to 1/2 inch. And it can't fill a 1/2 inch if it's soupy. It has to have some staying power. It has to be that peanut butter, you know, whipped topping for the cake kind of feel. Here we go. And I like to get it out and then just double check the mix in case I've got a dry corner from the pail, right? Start from further away first. And work your way towards you. Ooh, I got a little bit of dirt in the back corner here. We don't want to have that dirt in the mix. There we go. Yep, and Grout floats have a sharp corner and a round corner. Use the round one up against other surfaces. It'll help to fill it better. The goal here is to actually seal it up to the house. Okay, this patio is a little bit too wet. So this is going in too wet. So I built this out of the same stones I used to build the fire pit. Just blocks on the side. Construction adhesive for exterior on the corners. Backfilled it with a mix of stone and stone dust. You know, every couple of inches, and then we wet it and tamped it and wet it and tamped it and just built it layer by layer. I also put the conduit in behind. My electrician's going to be running electrical around the outside, so having that in place makes that easy. And then we just set the tiles in on the cement just like before. But on the blocks themselves, we actually used the same construction adhesive all around the outside. And so this is all in place. It's all gonna act like one great big stone when I'm done. And it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, this stuff is crazy running, too much water. Oh, that's gonna be fine. It's just gonna be a lot more work for me because I'm gonna have to sit here and babysit this. When it does start to get firm, then I'm gonna have to clean it like lightning. That's just so runny, I can't even get it to fill the back corner. Well guys, I made a mistake. I didn't manage the water that was sitting on the stones. They're so big they were holding water. So this is gonna be what I call a grout fail. Now I'm gonna remove the excess. I'm gonna wipe it down. I'm gonna make up another batch. And then I'm gonna fill it all over again. At the end of the day, if you're not happy with it, you gotta stop and do it again. All right, so now after taking into consideration how much water is being held here, I made a much thicker paste. Because I know that as soon as I start working this out here, it's going to mix in with what was on there already. So I just want to make sure that, wow, this is almost like that polishing paste they use at the dentist, right? That's really thick, and that's fine. So now I got to force it into the gaps, try to work the old stuff out of the way, make room for the new stuff. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. You can see how I can fill that right up now. There, that's the seal that I'm looking for. Yes, sir. This particular product is actually close to epoxy in a lot of ways. It just doesn't have the same chemical composition, but it performs very similarly. I think it was designed as an alternative to epoxy for interior residential applications. As tiles got bigger and more rectified porcelain hit the market, people were demanding a grout that could be used with really small grout lines in big tile. So now, instead of using epoxy, which was the only option, because unsanded grout is not the most ideal for floor scenarios. There's not enough strength in there to deal with deflection. But this stuff, this is crazy strong. So this solves all your problems. The most important part of any of these patio steps is right where it comes to the wall. So even after I'm finished with this grout, I'm going to protect the grout joint. I'm going to use a polyurethane sealant, a nice light gray sealant right over top of it. I want an extra layer of water protection because if we ever get any settling or any kind of movement or any kind of water getting in there, that's the kind of water that's going to freeze and start pulling everything apart. And that's exactly where it's going to happen. Most porches, when they're falling off the wall, it's because of water. Man, that stuff is deadly. Manage the water, like I said, you manage the whole job. Okay, now, I'm happy. This is good. Now I just gotta get rid of all the excess material that's on the tile. And I'll speed up my cleaning process. To do that, we just leave the grout float right up on the edge. You know, this wasn't supposed to be a how to grout moment here, Max, but I think we got some good points in, eh? One more thing we gotta do here. Take a dollop where all the joints are, fill them with your hand from the underside. All right? And for water to follow the cove and fill in the gap from underneath. See, I can squish it right up through the hole. Beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna take my extra material, just gonna leave it right in the middle. All right, because a big dollop like that with this material will slowly activate inside and go hard. So then as you're working your lines with your sponge, if anything chunks out or you find a big chunk of dirt or something in it, you've got material that's drying slowly next to it, and you can use to make a patch repair. So resist the temptation to just throw it out in the garbage. All right, if you read the instructions, it tells you there is no real waiting time, but you have 15 to 30 minutes to work with this material. They use the word work rather loosely. They don't say work with it and then clean it. They mean work with it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna just use the sponge test. You'll see how it's starting to get dry here. All right, and if I can wipe it off real easy, like that, then I'm gonna leave it alone. As long as it's that easy, I don't wanna be touching this. I'll just go every 60 seconds, I'll try again, until it's giving me a little bit more resistance. Then I know that it's setting up, and it's gonna be nice and firm and fill the grout lines, because I don't wanna have a lot of depression in the grout line that water can sit in. That can lead to freeze-thaw cycle issues. So I really want to have these grout lines totally filled with material when I'm done. It's a little bit of a labor of love because timing is everything here. And we wait. Hey, cheers to the local home hardware, home of the handyman, eh? And that's nice, they had pails for us today when we were short. Listen, when you're all done, you wipe it and then you wring the sponge out to wipe it down, guys. Don't add too much water to this, you just start grooving everything out. Make sure that you clean all your gear right away. Don't let it go sitting around. Now, I had a lot of people ask me, what do you do with the grout since you can't pour it down the drain? And the answer to that question is, let it dry in your pail. Okay, push it all to one side, and then the next day when it's dry, you just roll your pail, she'll all pop right off, and then you can just chuck it in the garbage bag. Now that's for this stuff here. Your rinsing water, there's only one thing you can do. Walk outside, go find yourself a big street sewer and pour it down that hole, or in gravel or some dirt somewhere where no one's gonna get upset when they see all the remnants of the grout. It's about the only option there is, but don't ever pour this stuff down your drain. You might as well just put your house for sale and move. As you can see, this is a huge transformation, and this was done just by myself and my son Matt, some rental equipment. I'm telling you right now, I think we saved over $60,000 on this outdoor patio job by doing it ourselves, and you can do it too. And if you're curious about where we get all the materials for the products that we're using in the videos, you gotta check out the video description. At the bottom of the screen, it'll have a little description that says show more. Click that, and underneath is all the information, like where we got the tile for the patio, where we got these awesome LED planters. All the information that you need so that you can find the deals that we're making available for you is down in that area. And listen, if you're interested and you like this video, then hit the like button, all right? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And by all means, check out this playlist so you don't miss out the 1880s farmhouse renovation from the very beginning. Soon we'll be moving on to another project.